Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Everyone, how you doing? Welcome into the program. So today on the show, we have computer and technology news, and we have a lot of fun discussions here with the program. And, this is going to be a lot of fun because we have Meta, some news about the new Facebook overarching company. We have an update on Nikola, which is always fun. If you haven't heard about that, we'll give a brief recap on that whole saga. That's definitely worth hearing about. And then we have, some updates, some fun articles from Motherboard. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a good show today. So everyone, computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything, including past shows, future shows, everything you need to know about the program. computeramerica.com. While you're there, check out the links to social media, give us a like, give us a follow. Best way to stay up to date. If you can't catch us live on IRN, the second best place to catch us is, of course, through the podcast. And Computer America is searchable anywhere where podcasts are heard. So, everyone, that's the morning announcements. Let's go ahead and get started with computer and technology news brought to you by Computer America. Here we go. Okay, I have these all lined up. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to start with, obviously, the first one. And check this one out. This one from AppleInsider. Doing some rare, not so Apple content, but that's okay. Because they're saying that Meta to continue use of facial recognition technology. So if you don't recall, this week, Facebook said in a huge turnabout that they were going to stop collecting and stop offering the service that has been around since 2012, I believe. 2010, 2012, somewhere around there. And they were using it with over 1 billion profiles, pretty much everyone who had opted in for it. And the specific feature for anyone out there who has used Facebook is the one where you upload a photo and it could be you and a number of friends, you tag yourself, and then Facebook would recommend, oh, this looks like this person, that person, that person. And it would automatically let you tag someone else. If the settings allowed it, they would let you tag other people in your photos. That has been dismantled. But as we had said back on, I believe it was Monday when they announced this, well, too good to be true. Because while they are no longer offering the service that the end user was essentially using, they did, however, say that they were going to keep all of the data on file. And now a little bit further of a clarification, because obviously the title of the article is saying that they will continue to use facial recognition technology. That was never in question. What they had said was they will no longer use it with Facebook. Or at least for tagging photos. Now, they said that while Facebook is no longer using facial recognition software, Meta on Wednesday clarified that the limitation does not extend to metaverse products, and that is a report by Recode. They say that, quote, and this is from Meta, "We believe this technology has the potential to enable positive use cases in the future that maintain privacy, no, control, no, and transparency, not so much. And it's an approach we'll continue to explore as we consider how our future computing platforms and devices can best serve people's needs." Read their own needs. But still, Jason Gross, that is the spokesperson for Meta, told the publication. So according to the report, Meta will continue to use a variety of biometric tools as it moves aggressively into the metaverse. That includes Deepface, and Deepface was the name of the AI that was doing all the tagging. And they said that, Meta's metaverse is a multi-user VR space currently accessed through Portal hardware. And with complex avatars and real-time facial tracking, the platform opens the door to a new level of user data collection that goes far beyond the boundaries pushed by Facebook. Absolutely. It's definitely going to push boundaries because when you strap yourself full of sensors, you're no longer just uploading pictures that are then being scanned by the software. You are uploading dozens and dozens of data points continuously. And if you think that one of those, especially since Portal tracks your face actively and will apparently impart your facial expressions onto your avatar, they're going to continue to use facial recognition technology. It is a core feature of what they are bringing. It's just the end user tool to tag your friends in existing photos that is going away. So it's lightly good. I mean, I guess when it rains and, waters the plants, but waters on your head, I mean, that's good for someone. Maybe not yourself, but hey, it's good. Meta has not revealed exactly what it plans to do with Deepface, but the company promises to keep users informed of upcoming changes. Now, and they say, quote, "For any potential future applications of technologies like this, we'll continue to be public about intended use, how people can have control over these systems and their personal data, and how we're living up to our responsible innovation framework." Facebook and responsibility. Never two words I immediately associate. But hey, they said that they were, honestly, it feels like they did the instant grab of "we're stopping facial tracking," and to everyone, it sounded great. They got the headlines, they got the good PR, it's all the good stuff, but there's always that asterisk. There's always that, not so much. It's something, but clearly the system is not done with us, even though people seem to be over the system. But hey, there you go. That's the first article that we have. And branching off of that, we have this report that was published, article published in the BBC. And it has to do with exactly this. And I get it. People who formerly did things are always seen as experts in that field, even though the field has developed so much. It's kind of like when people look at Steve Wozniak, and Wozniak is an amazing technologist. He obviously knows what he's doing, and he has helped bring to fruition many pieces of technology that have changed the way that we live. But people always bring out people like Steve Wozniak to say, hey, his comments are like gospel. He may be more informed than the average user, but by and large, their views on the trends really have very little impact on those trends. And more so in this case here, where they have one of the earliest investors in Facebook. They trotted him out and said, wow, look at his comments here on Facebook. So they said that Meta, of course, as Facebook is now known, is investing billions into the project, and this, of course, is the metaverse. And one of the early investors calls it dystopian. Yeah, it is. But also, it is the inevitable evolution of Facebook. and if not of Facebook, it is the inevitable evolution of technology. I don't want to say that we are only destined for the WALL-E floating around in, chairs and not walking kind of simulator, but man, we're going to get close to it. We're going to get so close to it. They say that Roger McNamee, there we go, told the BBC it's a bad idea, and the fact that we are all sitting and looking at this like it's normal should be alarming everyone. Meta's chief product officer, Chris Cox, told attendees at the Web Summit in Lisbon that the idea would make the internet less flat. He said that it would be considerably better than video conferencing as a space for meetings. Something about meetings really gets to, I don't know, I guess the corporate money. Like it tickles their feelings in a way that your workers can be more productive at a lower cost, and meetings, the all-important meeting, will be better and better. Yeah, I don't know, something about meetings. But still, they said that Facebook should not be allowed to create a dystopian metaverse. The term metaverse, of course, comes from Snow Crash, where it is served as a virtual reality successor to the internet. There you go. Now, he became a critic of Facebook as he began to see more misinformation on the platform. He said he was not convinced the metaverse would be safe in Mark Zuckerberg's hands. There's no way that a regulator or policymaker should be allowing Facebook to operate in the metaverse or get into cryptocurrencies. And by the way, Facebook's coin, I haven't heard much about it lately, but I can only assume that they've kind of halted production on it, or at least one can hope. Now, Facebook should have lost the right to make its own choices. A regulator should be there giving pre-approval for everything they do. The amount of harm that they've done is incalculable. Absolutely. For everyone's peace of mind, I skip over a lot of the articles that we see here concerning the amount of misinformation on social media, specifically Facebook, because it does get a little political for whatever reason. And by and large, the answer is they can't stop it. And if you were determined to spread misinformation, it would not be hard. There are countless studies that spread that kind of, that spread misinformation and then track how well it's doing. For just a couple $100, you too could have your very own rumor or half-truth spread around the internet in no time thanks to the ads by Facebook. They only have to pass the most barest of minimums before they get, kind of ushered along and the ads do what ads are going to do. And if there's any fallout and damage, the ads are taken down, and then maybe on anything that's left up, they put little, more information here. But the damage is already done at that point. And that's how it works, is that everything is just kind of allowed, and then it's fact-checked, which, with 3 billion users, you're just going to have to let that happen. You can't hold everything at the gate and then just kind of let things pass one by one as you check them. It's not going to work that way. So Facebook is a great place to spread misinformation. And obviously, that's what he's worried about here, where Facebook is not capable of controlling its own system that it's created. And then on top of that, this next system that they want to create is even more comprehensive and is even more difficult to control because it's real time. It's people face to face saying whatever they want in whatever groups that they want. That's a risk. For anyone who's old enough to remember good old AOL chat rooms, weird stuff happened there, and weird stuff continues to happen on the internet all over. So I can guarantee you, weird stuff is going to happen in the metaverse, and probably weirder than even AOL chat rooms. Now, so the article goes on a bit here, and let's see. So they have a quote here saying, everyone is exhausted by video conferencing. We don't know who is looking at who. Everyone is constantly interrupting each other. They mentioned that Meta is working on how to improve spatial audio and body language. When asked why anyone would want to meet in virtual reality, he said, it will not replace real life, and I don't want to design something that does. there you go. Yep. So obviously, this idea of the metaverse still in trial. They're still trying to figure out just how best to roll it out. Clearly, the company, with the name change and all that good stuff, if they wanted to, they could drop all the plans, switch everything back over, and it would just be a blip on the Facebook radar. But they seem to really want to evolve the technology, evolve the company, and move into this new space. And they want to drag all of us in with it. Yep. So we've already had segments and articles about the metaverse and what it is and what it can mean. But for one of the early founders or I should say one of the early investors to say this, again, just seems kind of weird that this guy who had a lot of money back in 2006 we should take his opinion for what he says here in 2021, especially since he pulled out his money, and I'm sure a lot more money than he put in, 10 years later. Like, we all know what he's saying, and a lot of it's true, but his voice is about as good as anyone else's. So there you go. Okay, so that's the follow-up to the metaverse. Now, this next story is a follow-up to an episode that, I can't just sit here and drink a fine glass of wine every day. But if I were ever going to do just that and have a nice, warm feeling in my heart as I did, Nikola would probably be the update that I would sip my Chardonnay to. Okay, so a quick recap. Nikola was founded by this dude who was a great swindler. He sold massive promises, great vision. He had terrible CGI mock-ups of plants that he was going to build. He had billions of dollars in capital investment flow into his company, and every time there was a benchmark or every time there was a deadline, he pushed it back by years. Nothing was delivered. Plots of land were never purchased. Construction material for the plant to build the trucks never came to fruition. And then out of nowhere, seemingly out of nowhere, they had this great Nikola video product demonstration that shows the truck rolling down the road, using drone, great cinematography. It looked amazing. And then, of course, the CEO came out and said, "Wasn't that great, everyone?" And they kind of missed the part where they had it towed up to the top of a hill. And thanks to that overhead camera angle, you couldn't really tell it was rolling down a slope using gravity. Since then, employees have come out and said that, that thing's just held together with, paper clips and bubble gum. And even the dashboard that the CEO was, demonstrating was simply more of a video that was choreographed to, kind of sync up with his hand gestures. There was no actual usable technology inside that vehicle. It was I'm sure that there are people who really are good at what they do, but with the direction and the deadlines and what they were trying to do, nothing was ever going to get done. So it was essentially a Ponzi scheme. Well, we finally have another update. Nikola sets aside $125 million to settle with the Securities and Exchange Commission, which kind of brings us full circle. The former CEO and the one that was making it all, building this giant house of cards, he was ousted after buying what I think was at the time like the most expensive private property ever purchased in like the state of Montana. He bought like a $200 million, hundreds of acres plot of land out there and built a $68 million mansion or a $38 million mansion, something like that. He made off like a bandit, but it looks like the people who replaced him are trying to turn Nikola into an actual company that sells fuel cell trucks. There you go. And since then, they've done as much damage control as they could, but this is the final thing that if they can emerge from this, they might actually have a company. Maybe. Honestly, it feels like when LimeWire tried to go, legit, or when Napster tried to go legit, there is name brand recognition in Napster, but that name brand recognition is, thievery and stolen songs and movies. Is it really worth saving at this point? And someone seems to think it is. Now, they said that the electric truck developer Nikola Corp is in talks with the SEC to pay $125 million in civil penalty, part of an ongoing probe by the regulator into whether the company misled investors. Here's a hint. Yes, they did. I hope that they don't do the thing that everyone gets to do with the SEC, in that they pay a fine, but then they say, this is in no way admitting that we did wrongdoing. So, always seems to be the way. These companies pay like $2 billion, and then they're like, we didn't do it. We're paying because, I don't know. Now, they said that Nikola would pay the settlement in installments and had earmarked the funds in anticipation of the resolution, the company said in its third quarter earnings results. Based on the advancement of discussions with the SEC, Nikola reserved, of course, the $125 million. And, meanwhile, Nikola's Beleaguer founder, Trevor Milton, really the mastermind of the whole scheme, has been busy with his own criminal defense. He faced 2 separate charges, one from the SEC and a criminal indictment from the U.S. Attorney's Office for 2 counts of securities fraud and 1 count of wire fraud. Yeah, so we'll see what happens with the founder, but he got off pretty light so far. The company continues to pay for his attorney's fees, which came in at a cost of about $12 million for the first 9 months of this year. One of the biggest expenses for this company is not the plant, the electricity, the manpower, the imports. No, one of the biggest expenses for this company is the legal defense for their former lead. Oh my God. Now, they said that they would seek reimbursement from Milton for costs and damages in connection with the government and regulatory investigations. And, of course, he still owns about 16% of Nikola stock. So, there you go. To say that the past financial year has been a struggle for the company would be an understatement. Nikola was flying high last September with about a $2 billion strategic partnership with General Motors. And, by the way, that backed out of the deal. I don't know who at GM kind of greenlit that, because I get that General Motors is looking at Ford and they're going, wow, we really need to set up the next generation of vehicles. But going with Nikola is just smoke and mirrors, so much smoke and mirrors. I'm glad that they were able to pull back from it. But just a month later, GM backed out the deal, and after the SEC opened the investigation following a report of short seller Hindenburg Research. And that report, by the way, if you want to deep dive into all of this, that report, the Hindenburg Research Group, they lambasted that entire company. It was so much fun. It was a fun read. So, obviously, the regulator still has to approve the $125 million. If they can do this, then, honestly, for everything that Nikola has done, it would be a drop in the bucket. But if they can get the SEC off of their back, that's something worth celebrating over at that company. If that company is to continue to exist. So there you go. Okay, let's see. We have another update. So that was Nikola. This one should be pretty quick too. The United States has blacklisted the Pegasus group. And if you don't know who Pegasus is, well, not the flying horse with the wings. Pegasus is, in fact, the organization, the NSO, that created the software that was used by dictatorial regimes all over the world to track journalists, political opponents, and, well, just people they didn't like. Obviously, the NSO group said that we only sell to law enforcement. These are to help with law enforcement investigations. Yes, it's malware, but it's malware with a good purpose. Turns out they, and I mean, that's just the way capitalism, that's just the way the capitalism is. Once they handed over the software, even though they knew it was going to, places like Saudi Arabia and China and Russia, they just kind of said, and of course parts of Africa with much, much corruption, they kind of just went, we don't track our customers. We don't know what they're doing with it. They could be doing anything. Oh, by the way, it connects back to our servers and we can see exactly who they're putting who they're putting it on. But hey, that's none of our business. So the US has looked into this, and they say that they've blacklisted Pegasus from selling in the United States. So they mentioned that, quote, today's action is a part of the Biden-Harris administration's efforts to put human rights at the center of U.S. foreign policy, including by working to stem the proliferation of digital tools used for repression. Again, they were pushing malware. There's no way there's no two ways about it. And for some reason, Israel has this tech scene that is pretty heavily focused on security. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, on what many people would say is kind of the non-privacy side of security, where they are huge into cracking iPhones, huge into cracking Android phones, jailbreaking operating systems, providing malware for government agencies. Israel is really pushing the kind of gray area of technology. While they are not, I guess in some cases by peddling malware, they are breaking international law, but they are not explicitly doing anything themselves, but they are enabling other people to do these horrible things. And that should be, kind of tackled. Now, they said that, so they have a quote here. The NSO group made tools that enabled foreign governments to conduct transnational repression, which is the practice of authoritarian governments targeting dissidents, journalists, and activists outside of their sovereign borders to silence dissent. And they mentioned that, they were added to the entity list based on a determination that they traffic in cyber tools used to gain unauthorized access to information systems, threatening the privacy and security of individuals and organizations worldwide. There you go. It's again pretty obvious when you really look at it and you stop kind of beating around the bush. But yeah, it's definitely a step in the right direction. By the way, they did offer this defense, and this is from the NSO group, saying that NSO is a technology company. We do not operate the system, nor do we have access to the data of our customers, yet they were obligated to provide us with such information under investigations. NSO will thoroughly investigate any credible proof of misuse of its technologies, as we always had, and will shut down the system where necessary. NSO will continue its mission of saving lives, helping governments around the world prevent terror attacks, break up pedophilia, sex, and drug trafficking rings, locate missing and kidnapped children, locate survivors trapped under collapsed buildings, and protect airspace against disruptive penetration by dangerous drones. So clearly, they are saving lives, saving the world, and stopping every bad thing from happening. Sure. I mean, they can claim it, but yeah, not so much. Their kind of discretion at looking at who was actually purchasing and using their software made them a favorite tool. And as soon as they figured out what they were doing, I mean, they were very cognizant of who was using their software. So there you go. They've been blacklisted by the U.S. law enforcement agency. So that would be, I think, that's considered in legal terms a layup. It's a very obvious, very easy thing to do. So there you go. If you were hoping to head out this Christmas season and pick up your own version of intrusive malware for your government agency, then unfortunately the NSO group might not be for you. We apologize to be the one to let you know this. Okay, there you go. That was, I believe that was story number 4. Story number 5. And by the way, order these all up. I'm enjoying this a lot. So this next one, yep, we got a couple of these articles here, and boy, these are all fun. So we talk about NFTs all the time. Not going to get into the nitty gritty of it. If you don't know what an NFT is, check out some of our past shows. But by and large, an NFT is a little token, is a non-fungible token, and it is a receipt that one person can own that says, I own this thing. Unfortunately, for a lot of people out there who don't understand this, that thing is a digital good. And by definition, a digital good is something that can be copied infinitely. Nothing is lost between one copy and another. They are the exact same, but by committing it to a blockchain, and a lot of times it's either the Ethereum blockchain or they have, other ones specifically designated for NFTs, by committing it to a particular blockchain, that is how they kind of say that this token that you're going to receive is that actual token. You can check it against the blockchain. No one else can copy it. You own it. This is a non-fungible token. No one can funge with it. There you go. So you now own NFTs. There was a meme, a little bit of a troll that was going on with the NFT community that really highlighted for people the split mentality. And that is the right clicker mentality. And this came to a head with this tweet here. In response to an article that a gentleman who recreated the Salt Bay steak. He recreated it for about $100. And if you haven't heard about the Salt Bay steak, it's a $2,000 cut of steak. Probably a bone-in ribeye, very large steak, and they cook it for you, and then they cover it in gold leaf. And gold leaf isn't the most expensive thing, but I mean, it looks fancy. It adds a lot of class. So they cook your steak, and then they cover it in gold leaf, and they serve you a gold-plated, or I should say, a gold-covered steak. And true. For about $90 worth of ingredients, you too can make this $2,000 steak. Now, the response, though, that Midwit Millhouse mentioned here, if you're wondering why we're talking about steaks, it's this response saying that this is a great example of right clicker mentality. Sure, you can make your own gold-coated steak for about 65 British pounds or about $90, but then you don't have the satisfaction, flex, clout that comes with having eaten at Salt Bay's restaurant, saying that the value is not in the cost of the steak, which, there's a bit of a point to it, but it does show the difference between those who believe that, oh, you own this item, and everyone else is going, well, I own it too. I just right-click the image and I save as, and now I have a copy on my computer. Sure, you have an exact duplicate of what someone else just paid $69 million for, but you don't have the $69 million one. And those two mentalities meet at this intersection. Either you get it or you don't. Either you get why someone paid $69 million for that one particular token, or you just say, wow, who really cares? Everyone owns the exact same thing. So yeah, that's right clicker mentality. And they said that right-clicking initially emerged as a trolling praxis as the NFT market took off in 2021. And they said that the comment under a post of someone showing off their new multi-million-dollar ape cartoon JPEG are reliably filled with people saving and reposting the image and claiming that, hey, they now own it as well. Pretty funny. To NFT fans, then, a right-clicker is someone who doesn't understand NFT and will never get the view that the Mona Lisa online is quite different from the ownership receipt for the Mona Lisa stashed somewhere else. Sure, you can look at it, you can even save a JPEG of the Mona Lisa on your computer, but you will never quote-unquote own it, nor will someone pay you millions of dollars for your saved JPEG. That receipt, though, is another matter entirely. Again, they're not saying the Mona Lisa itself, they're saying that the image of Mona Lisa that says that you have the Mona Lisa somewhere else. So it's technically the same, but yeah, you're selling the receipt, not the image. Now, but they mentioned that the right-clicker mentality is a bit of a cipher, and while it's derogatory in the hands of an NFT enthusiast, it's a badge of honor for the haters. An NFT fan might call someone a right-clicker because they don't get NFTs, and a hater might embrace the label because, hey, there's nothing to get. And this entire idea of owning an infinitely copyable bundle of pixels because it says so on a digital list called a blockchain is a profit-seeking farce. And yeah, I would definitely agree. A lot of NFTs are just clearly scams. Yeah, just all made up. I read today a comment on, I think it was Reddit. Someone compared it perfectly. And for anyone who doesn't get it, back in the mid-2000s, there was this thing where you could purchase a star for someone. You could name a star after someone. And there was this entire star registry list. And you could, for $35, $40, because this random .com website said so, they labeled all the stars, gave them, fancy little star names. And they said, you can buy this star for $35. And you could take your telescope, you could find it in the night sky and say, hey, that's my star. I bought it for $35. But it was just some random .com website. And there were multiple .com websites selling the rights to all of the stars in the sky. Just because you bought the rights to it doesn't mean anyone has to care about it. That's a great analogy, that's a great analogy to the value of NFTs. It's almost like someone insanely believes that their .com website, is worth that much. Now, they said that a search of right-clicker mentality on Twitter returns thousands of results making fun of NFTs and the very concept of right-clicker mentality, and saying that you can't be funnier than their own coping. There you go. And so the concept of right-clicker mentality so perfectly encapsulates the mental contortions and social dynamics inherent to NFTs that they tweeted, quote, just been told about the right-clicker mentality and it annoys me so much when internet trolls are better at social satire than novelists, end quote. It's a pretty good one. So they said that the people who use right-clicker mentality unironically are participating in hustle culture mutated into a new form, playing fast and loose with risky new financial products. A few of them will win big, but many will end up with some variation of crying online about having their ape JPEG stolen. The right-clicker mentality may win in the end, but not before the NFT crowd makes untold millions. Remember, those untold millions that they make are probably going to be at the hands of you. They are much more coordinated, and you could probably try to time the sales, time everything, try to do it right, but you are simply a small fish riding in the wake of a much, much bigger animal. And hey, a little scrap might fall off to you. That's great. But by and large, you are not in control. So be careful with NFTs out there. And if you really want to own one, just right click. Just right click, bro. It's all you need to do. So that was fun. And honestly, a great a great little social dynamic that's evolving there. Now, okay, how about, I got this one here. It's about crypto investors buy 40 acres of land in Wyoming to build a blockchain city. As to what that means, who the heck knows? But looks like they bought themselves a plot of land, they incorporated themselves, and they are looking to turn their investment into a full-blown city with, at the basis of it, the idea of a free and open currency that is decentralized. Would anyone go for it? Is it something that needs to happen? Who knows? But yeah, they have their own flag flying, and they have their own 40-acre plot of land in Wyoming. So, yep. I think we're going to go ahead and skip that one. So, last motherboard article. Again, these are pretty long and very, very well written. You should definitely check out the publication. But this last one happened yesterday. And it's something that whenever people talk about AI, it's something you should always keep this in mind. AI is not a perfect science. Yes, it's a science. Yes, it's getting better. How to train these AIs is something that takes a lot of data and a lot of work. And when you unleash them upon the internet and you don't perfectly curate that data, you end up with certain AIs that kind of run amok. And, well, let's just go ahead and get into it. Ethical AI trained on Reddit post said genocide is okay if it makes people happy. Clearly, there are some ethical hurdles that this AI did not clear. It stumbled not even just before the finish line, but probably on the first hurdle, which is genocide is generally viewed as bad. But the AI did not come to that conclusion, and honestly, to be trained on Reddit posts, yeah, that seems about right. They said that fed by Reddit and Mechanical Turks, the algorithmic morality spinner, is a dangerous and stupid use of technology. Absolutely. But hey, it is a use of technology. Now, Ask Delphi, a piece of machine learning software that algorithmically generates answers to any ethical questions you ask it, and that had a brief moment of internet fame last month, shows us exactly why we shouldn't want artificial intelligence handling any ethical dilemmas. This is important because there will be times when the AI has to make that decision. A very popular and stupid one that people bring up all the time is, what are the ethics of a self-driving car, and it has to hit either a child or a family, or hit your car or kill a baby. And that is the stupidest argument, but I get what they're saying. What do you do when you put the car in a situation where there is no positive outcome, where there will always be something that goes wrong? And those situations, as we use AI more and more day to day, especially when the military is starting to use AI in fighter jets, especially when the military is using that in, kind of drones and robots on the ground. What happens when AI comes to ethical dilemmas? And this is, I'm sure, just another step in the evolution of ethics in robotics. You can't just train, if this, then that, and just do that for the entirety of human ethos. Now, they said that some of the questions that you could ask, Ask Delphi, is such as, is it okay to rob a bank if you're poor? It's wrong, according to Ask Delphi. Are men better than women? They're equal, according to Ask Delphi. amazing it got that far. Honestly, I am impressed with Ask Delphi. Are women better than men? According to AI, saying, quote, it's expected. There you go. So far, not too bad. But Ask Delphi also thought that being straight was more morally acceptable than being gay, that aborting a baby was murder, and that being a white man was more morally acceptable than being a black woman. Yeah, we kind of went off the rails there. Yep. Again, I'm surprised it took that long. According to the researchers behind the project, AI is rapidly becoming more powerful and widespread, and scientists must teach these machine learning systems morality and ethics. That's which is a big task, and you do need giant data sets such as the entirety of Reddit to do this. But again, when you don't curate and weed out the bad data, well, much like training a kid, or teaching a kid, I should say, you don't train kids, you teach kids. Much like teaching a kid, if you teach them that water is hot, that's all good, and that's all well and good. But then you start teaching them that it's okay to punch someone who doesn't agree with you. Normally, it to any other rational person, that would be thrown out. But to a kid, if you teach them that their entire life and you reinforce it like you do with AI training, they're gonna, the kid's gonna think, hey, you disagree? I'm gonna punch you in the face. And that's a bad thing. So AI is the same way. You need to weed it out and say that, you can't just say, oh, well, it'll figure it out, with enough data. No, it'll just be reinforced depending on where you get your data. So they mentioned that, quote, extreme scale neural networks learned from raw internet data are even more powerful than we anticipated, but to what extent can they learn to behave in an ethically informed and socially aware manner? Delphi demonstrates both the promises and the limitations of language-based neural models when taught with ethical judgments made by people. So Delphi is based on a machine learning model called Unicorn that is pre-trained to perform common sense reasoning, such as choosing the most plausible ending to a string of text. Delphi was further trained on what the researchers call the Common Sense Norm Bank, which is a compilation of 1.7 million examples of people's ethical judgments from datasets pulled from sources like Reddit. I think when people are online and they're being anonymous, they tend to not be as ethically inclined as when they are being watched or viewed, or, when they have their name attached to it. They tend to say things that they would never do or say in person. Now, to benchmark the model's performance on adhering to moral scruples of the average Redditor, the researcher employed Mechanical Turk workers who view the AI's decision on a topic and decide if they agree. Each AI decision goes through 3 different workers who then decide if the AI is correct. Majority rules. Like other AIs, Ask Delphi can be remarkably dumb. AI researcher Mike Cook shared a number of terrible answers the AI gave on Twitter. Let's go through these. This should be fun. Okay, so again, AI, terrible answers. Let's see. Ask Delphi. Delphi says, aborting a baby is murder. Being a white man is more morally acceptable than being a black woman. Being straight, more morally acceptable than being gay, such as those, again, quoted in the article. But it also learns fast and has been updated several times since the initial launch. On October 27th, Vox reported that the AI said Genocide was okay as long as it made everyone happy. If you ask the exact same question, that's been rooted out. It now says it now tells you that it's wrong, which, way to learn. That's the whole point of AI, is that it can adapt and it can learn. Now, so the article goes on for a bit. Let's go ahead and skip down here a little bit to the end, saying that there's no preschool for algorithms to teach them to stop poking Timmy in the eye. That's a quote from what they have here. And they say that its mission remains the same: to teach robots how to make moral and ethical decisions. It's a simplistic and ultimately fundamental flawed way of looking at both ethics and the potential of AI. Whenever a system is trained on a dataset, the system adopts and scales up the basis of the dataset. There you go. Again, to a human, to a baby, to a person, these things are obvious. And, obviously, depending on your background, your upbringing, some of these are going to be a little bit less controversial than others, but still, you put it through a lens of 30, 40, 50, 15, however many years you've been alive. And humans change. AI does the same thing, except it can pull from a lot more sources of information, where it may take you a lifetime to read thousands of books. If they are in plain text, the AI is going to have access to all of those immediately. So in a lot of ways, it's incredibly powerful, but in others, when it comes to context and interpretation, they are incredibly dumb. And that's what we need to work on. They're saying that, quote, the best they can come up with is, quote, we made a big pivot table of what Redditors think is interesting, and that's how morality works, Keith said. If you tried to submit that in a level 100 philosophy class, you wouldn't even get laughed out of the room. I think the professor would be too appalled to laugh. There you go. Yeah, AI has a lot of potential, but when it comes to morality and ethics, it's so far not there yet. And there's a lot of tasks that AI will make obsolete. There's a lot of tasks that will make a lot of sense for it. Morality might not ever be one of them, or at least not for many, many, many years. There will be no AI judge. At least I'm not seeing it in my lifetime. That's and I plan on living for a long time, so not gonna happen. Okay, in these last less than 10 minutes that we have here, how about some upbeat? So clearly we can go from Genocide is okay to AI and drug discovery. This one by Alphabet, a little bit different, but they've just launched a company that works on protein folding and deep mind. If you don't recall, Google released this project where scientists before would sit in a lab with proteins for cancer cells or for drugs or for the human genome, and they would manipulate these things in a 3D environment, trying to unravel them so that they could further their research. They said that the permutations needed is something that the human, any person can do. It doesn't have to be highly trained doctors or doctoral students or whatever. We can do this, we can give this to the internet. So much like the SETI project where, you had a screensaver, and when it was on the screensaver, it was decoding information from whatever, the search for extraterrestrial life. Much in that same vein, they did it with protein folding. They then took all that data, fed it through an AI, and they were able to come up with DeepMind, who was then able to kind of refold the proteins, and a lot of work was done. Thousands and thousands of hours were saved thanks to this AI. Now, because it's Google and because it's a private company, they are going to launch a full-blown company thanks to this. So I believe it's called Isomorphic, or I should say Isomorphic Laboratories, will leverage that success to build tools that can help identify new pharmaceuticals. The DeepMind CEO will also serve as the CEO for Isomorphic, but the two companies will stay separate and collaborate occasionally. For years, experts have pointed to AI to make it faster and cheaper to find new medications to treat various conditions. Hundreds of millions of dollars have been invested in companies building AI tools over the past couple of years. Isomorphic will try to build models that can predict how drugs will interact with the body, which, by the way, great use of AI. Better than just chucking pills at someone and go, Do you have any side effects? Are you alive? You know, now we don't have to just guess. We can kind of see what happens beforehand. So the company may not develop its own drugs, but instead sell its models. It will focus on developing partnerships with pharmaceutical companies, a spokesperson said in a statement to The Verge. Developing and testing drugs, though, could be a steeper challenge than figuring out protein structure, and we'll see how well it goes. But it's yet again just another example of AI working its way into our common world. So, okay, quick update. Not going to get too far into this one as well. If you recall, SpaceX and Blue Origin. One is Tesla, the other is Amazon. Tesla's SpaceX was awarded a contract by NASA. It was like $2 billion, and it was to build a rocket or a multi-stage rocket to get NASA to the moon with like a rover. And Blue Origin said, hey, wait, that's not fair. There are privacy concerns. We weren't even considered for this bid, and we're suing you. Because Blue Origin, even though they have a couple of success, including sending their billionaire founder into space along with a couple other lucky people, they really haven't been doing as much business as SpaceX, and spaceflight is a very expensive hobby. Now, they said that Blue Origin portrayed the ruling as a partial victory. The case allegedly highlighted the important safety issues and showed the need for an unprejudiced process that spurred competition to include backup systems. The agency believed that Blue Origin was gambling with its initial $6 billion proposal on the flawed assumption that NASA would both haggle down the price and receive the funding needed to cover the expensive bid. Blue Origin disagreed with the assessment and felt it made a good offer, but that still suggests NASA preferred SpaceX for its lower pricing instead of its unfair criteria. So, Blue Origin really needed that contract. They didn't get it. SpaceX did, and they sued over it, saying that, hey, that's not fair. And it's, they said that they are also under contract with NASA to develop in-suite resources, utilization technologies, lunar space robotics, and lunar landing sensors for testing on the New Shepard. We look forward to hearing from NASA on the next steps in the HLS procurement process. So there you go. Blue Origin, they lost, but they're still claiming a partial victory. We'll see how that goes. Okay, we gotta be quick here. Not much time for many others. GM Cruise, because I really do think that self-driving technology is very, very cool. GM Cruise starts testing fully driverless taxi rides in San Francisco, and the Cruise co-founder, Kyle Vaught, took the first ride. So not going to go too far into this, just saying that Cruise told Engadget that it's currently only offering fully driverless rides to employees right now, while it is allowed under its testing permit to offer free rides to the public as well. It is not doing so just yet. So these car companies are offering, or at least to their employees for now, maybe soon, you too can ride in a fully driverless car. It's pretty cool. Hopefully it gets even further. Okay, I think we'll leave you with one more story, and let's make it a fun one. Let's definitely make it a fun one. Samsung. When I say Samsung, you may think televisions, phones, tablets, washing machines, large appliances. Let me add one more there. Designer jeans. Yes, designer jeans. And check this out in true Samsung fashion. Hyper specialized. They only have one pocket. And that one pocket fits a Galaxy Z Flip 3. Just perfectly. That's all you really need, let's face it. They said that, do you bristle at the thought of using large pants pockets to hold your equally huge phone? No, Samsung has a solution for you regardless. And they said that Samsung Australia and Dr. Denim have unveiled a pair of limited edition blue jeans, the Z Flip Pocket Denim, that ditches all of the usual pockets. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, it's real. It's really real. We can even throw it up here on the website if you want to check it out on the video portion. The Z Flip Pocket Denim. Oh, good. They're only $1,500. So, yep, you can buy them in either male or female. Wonder how far it will let me go. Huh. I think I go. Ladies and gentlemen, they're still available in sizes include all the way up to 36-32, all the way down to 28-32. Designer jeans, not the greatest availability of size, but you do as you do. And also on top of that, you get a free Galaxy Z Flip 3 128 gigs with every purchase of the jeans. So, hey, saves you a little bit of money on the back end with a free brand new $1,500 phone. Pretty funny, and obviously, yep, they're probably not the wisest investment. Never mind that you're buying a jeans that are only intended to hold one phone. What happens if you need keys, wallet, blah, blah, blah. Again, these are obviously marketing, and hey, only about 450 pairs are available. Ladies and gentlemen, until next time, have a great day. Thank you so much. Good luck getting these. Bye.